Humans have built skyscrapers that touch the clouds. We've sent rockets to Mars. But here's something that'll blow your mind. We've literally built rivers. Not just any rivers, rivers longer than entire countries. And right now there's a man-made river in China that's longer than the distance from New York to Miami. There's another one in Libya that pumps water through 1,600 kilometers of desert, completely underground. And get this, one of these engineering marvels in India transformed an entire desert into farmland. But here's what nobody talks about. These aren't just impressive construction projects. These man-made rivers literally rewrote human history, shifted global economics, and some of them, they're the reason entire civilizations exist today. I'm about to show you the 10 largest man-made rivers on Earth. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why these engineering masterpieces are more important than any building, bridge, or monument ever constructed. Before we dive into these mind-blowing projects, let me set something straight. When I say man-made rivers, I'm talking about canals, aqueducts, and artificial waterways that humans carved, dug, or built from scratch. These aren't natural rivers we just modified. These are completely artificial water highways that exist because humans said, we need water to flow here, and made it happen. And here's the crazy part. The number one river on this list has been flowing for over 1,400 years. It's older than most countries, and it's still changing the world today. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with number 10 and work our way up to the absolute monster that takes the crown. Number 10, Corinth Canal, Greece, 6.4 kilometers. Now, at just 6.4 kilometers long, you might think this doesn't belong on a largest list. But here's why it earned its spot. Picture this. Ancient Greeks looked at the narrow strip of land separating two seas and thought, what if we just cut through it? For over 2,000 years, this was considered impossible. The rock was too hard, the engineering too complex. The statistics are mind-boggling. They carved through solid limestone and clay to create a canal that's 21.4 meters wide at the top and 8 meters wide at the bottom. The walls rise 63 meters high on both sides. That's like looking up at a 20-story building while floating in a narrow channel. Here's the engineering challenge that stumped civilizations for millennia. The Isthmus of Corinth is made of extremely hard sedimentary rock. Ancient engineers didn't have dynamite or modern excavation equipment. When construction finally began in 1881, they had to remove 12 million cubic meters of earth and rock using steam shovels and controlled explosions. The project took 12 years and cost 70 million gold francs, equivalent to about $500 million today. But here's what makes it worth every penny. This tiny canal saves ships a 700-kilometer journey around the entire Peloponnese Peninsula. That's a fuel savings of approximately 185 nautical miles and 8 to 10 hours of sailing time. The canal can handle ships up to 58 meters long and 9.6 meters wide, with a maximum draft of 6.5 meters. About 11,000 vessels transit through annually, generating over $4 million in toll revenue for Greece. But if you think cutting through solid rock is impressive, wait until you see what's coming next. Number 9. Delaware Canal, United States, 90 kilometers. Number 9 takes us to America, the Delaware Canal, stretching 90 kilometers through Pennsylvania. This isn't just a canal, it's a time machine that reveals how America was really built. Here's what most people don't realize about early America. Before railroads, before highways, canals were the internet of the 1800s. They were how information, goods, and people moved across the country. The Delaware Canal was engineered with 23 locks to overcome a 165-meter elevation change between its endpoints. Each lock chamber measures 27 meters long by 3.2 meters wide, designed to accommodate the standard canal boats of the era, which were 26 meters long and carried up to 120 tons of cargo. Construction began in 1827 and took 5 years to complete at a cost of $2.8 million, about $85 million in today's money. The engineering required building 106 culverts, 11 aqueducts, and 1 tunnel. The most impressive structure was the aqueduct over Tohickon Creek, which carried the canal 18 meters above the natural waterway. The canal moved coal from Pennsylvania's anthracite mines to New York's factories. In its peak year of 1860, over 33 million tons of cargo passed through this waterway. That's equivalent to 1.3 million truckloads by today's standards. Without this 90-kilometer waterway, the Industrial Revolution in America would have looked completely different. Here's a staggering statistic. The canal reduced transportation costs from $10 per ton by wagon to just $1.50 per ton by boat. This 85% cost reduction made Pennsylvania coal competitive in New York markets and fueled America's industrial expansion. The canal boats, called packets, could carry 120 tons of cargo and were pulled by mules walking along towpaths. A typical journey from Bristol to Easton took 2 to 3 days compared to a week by wagon over rough roads. And speaking of canals that built empires, number 8 is about to show you how one waterway became more valuable than gold mines. Number 8, Panama Canal. Panama, 82 kilometers. Everyone knows the Panama Canal connects 2 oceans, but here's what they don't teach you in school. This canal doesn't just save time for ships, it literally controls global trade. The engineering statistics are absolutely insane. The canal uses a system of 3 locks on each side, each chamber measuring 320 meters long, 33.5 meters wide, and 25.9 meters deep. Each lock gate weighs between 390 and 730 tons and stands 19.5 meters high. When a ship transits, 197 million liters of fresh water flow through the system. That's enough to supply a city of 350,000 people for an entire day. Every single day, $270 million worth of goods passes through this canal. That's $98 billion per year flowing through 82 kilometers of water. To put this in perspective, that's more than the entire GDP of most countries. The French tried to build it first under Ferdinand de Lesseps, the same engineer who built the Suez Canal. They failed spectacularly. 25,000 people died from yellow fever, malaria, and accidents. The French spent $287 million and removed only 30 million cubic meters of earth before abandoning the project in 1889. Then America took over in 1904, and here's the crazy part. They didn't just build a canal, they eliminated yellow fever and malaria from an entire region while doing it. Dr. William Gorgas implemented mosquito control measures that reduced the death rate from 176 per 1,000 workers to just 6 per 1,000. The American construction phase required removing 232 million cubic meters of earth and rock, nearly 8 times what the French had accomplished. They used 102 railroad-mounted steam shovels, each capable of moving 8 cubic meters of earth per scoop. The project employed 56,000 workers at its peak and cost $375 million. About $13 billion in today's money. The canal saves ships approximately 12,600 kilometers of travel around Cape Horn. A typical transit takes 8 to 10 hours and costs between $300,000 and $700,000 depending on the ship's size. The canal handles about 14,000 transits annually, generating over $2.6 billion in revenue for Panama. But if you think controlling global shipping is powerful, wait until you see what happens when you connect entire river systems. Number 7. Volga-Don Canal, Russia, 105 kilometers. Quick question, what happens when you connect the largest river in Europe to a river that flows into the Black Sea? You create a 105-kilometer shortcut that changed European trade forever. That's exactly what the Volga-Don Canal did. This canal connects the Volga River system, which drains most of western Russia, to the Don River, which flows to the Black Sea. The engineering challenge was enormous. The 2 rivers are separated by a watershed with an elevation difference of 88 meters. The solution required 13 locks, each measuring 290 meters long and 30 meters wide, capable of lifting ships up to 44 meters above sea level. The locks can handle vessels up to 5,000 tons displacement. That's roughly the size of a modern destroyer. Construction began in 1948 using forced labor from Soviet gulags. An estimated 100,000 prisoners worked on the project under brutal conditions. They moved 150 million cubic meters of earth using mostly hand tools and primitive machinery. The human cost was staggering. An estimated 25,000 workers died during construction. Stalin called this canal the construction project of communism. It wasn't just about moving goods, it was about moving military vessels. This 105-kilometer waterway gave the Soviet Navy access to 5 seas: the White Sea, Baltic Sea, Caspian Sea, Sea of Azov, and Black Sea, all through internal Russian waters. The canal can handle ships with a maximum length of 138 meters, beam of 16.5 meters, and draft of 3.5 meters. Annual traffic averages 16 million tons of cargo, including grain, oil, metals, and manufactured goods. The transit time is approximately 12 to 15 hours compared to the 2,500-kilometer journey around Europe. Here's a strategic detail most people miss. The canal includes a massive reservoir system with a total capacity of 31 billion cubic meters of water. This isn't just for navigation, it's for flood control, irrigation, and hydroelectric power generation across southern Russia. And if you think that's strategically important, number 6 is about to show you a canal that literally shortened the distance between continents. Number 6, Kiel Canal, Germany, 98 kilometers. The Kiel Canal in Germany, 98 kilometers of the most trafficked artificial waterway in the world, and here's something that'll surprise you. More ships use this canal than the Suez and Panama Canals combined. The numbers are staggering. Over 32,000 ships transit this canal annually. That's 87 ships per day, squeezing through a waterway that's 162 meters wide at the surface and 90 meters wide at the bottom, with a depth of 11 meters. The canal can accommodate ships up to 235 meters long. That's longer than 2 football fields. When Germany built this canal in 1895, they weren't just creating a shipping shortcut, they were creating a military advantage. German warships could move between the North Sea and Baltic Sea without being detected by enemy navies sailing around Denmark. The original construction required removing 80 million cubic meters of earth and took 61,000 workers 8 years to complete. The project cost 156 million gold marks, equivalent to about $2.8 billion today. But here's the engineering marvel. They had to cross the Jutland Peninsula's watershed, which required building locks and managing water levels across varying elevations. The canal saves ships approximately 460 kilometers of travel around the Danish peninsula, reducing journey time by 7 to 9 hours and saving an estimated $50,000 in fuel costs per transit for large vessels. This might not sound like much, but multiply that by 32,000 ships annually, and you're looking at $1.6 billion in collective savings. The canal has been expanded twice since its original construction. The most recent expansion, completed in 1914, widened the canal to its current dimensions and eliminated all locks, allowing ships to transit at sea level. This engineering decision was revolutionary. It meant vessels could pass through without the time delays and water consumption associated with lock systems. Here's a detail that showcases German engineering precision. The canal maintains a constant water level through a sophisticated system of pumping stations and reservoirs. The Gieselau pumping station can move 40 cubic meters of water per second to maintain optimal navigation conditions. During World War I, this canal was so strategically important that Germany stationed permanent naval forces to protect it. Today, it generates over $200 million annually in transit fees and supports 12,000 jobs in the surrounding region. But we're just getting started. The next 5 canals on this list aren't just impressive, they're civilization changing. Number 5, Murray-Darling Irrigation Channels, Australia, 3,375 kilometers. Number 5 isn't technically a single canal, it's something much more impressive. The Murray-Darling irrigation system in Australia covers 3,375 kilometres of managed waterways across an area of 1.06 million square kilometres. To understand why this matters, you need to understand Australia. Most of the continent is desert. The Murray-Darling Basin covers 14% of Australia's landmass, but produces 40% of the nation's agricultural output and supports 2.6 million people. This isn't just one big canal, it's a network of 16 major dams, 5,000 weirs, 6,000 kilometres of levee banks, and thousands of irrigation channels that collectively manage 24,000 gigalitres of water annually. That's enough water to fill Sydney Harbour 48 times over. The engineering complexity is mind-boggling. The system includes the Murray River at 2,508 kilometres long, the Murrumbidgee River at 1,485 kilometres, and the Darling River at 1,472 kilometers, all connected through artificial channels, locks, and diversions that allow precise water management across multiple states. The Lock and Weir system alone consists of 15 major structures along the Murray River. Lock 1 near Blanchetown can lift vessels 3.05 metres, while Lock 15 at Euston provides a 2.44-metre lift. Each lock chamber measures 121.9 metres long and 17.1 metres wide, designed to handle paddle steamers and modern recreational vessels. Here's where the statistics become staggering. This system irrigates 1.54 million hectares of farmland and produces $24 billion worth of agricultural products annually. That includes 95% of Australia's oranges, 54% of its apples, 50% of its wheat, and 46% of its sheep and beef cattle. The Snowy Mountains scheme integrated into this system includes 16 major dams, 7 power stations, and 225 kilometres of tunnels and aqueducts. It diverts water from the Snowy River westward into the Murray-Darling system, adding 2,100 gigalitres annually to the irrigation network. Water allocation is managed through a sophisticated trading system where farmers can buy and sell water rights. In 2019 to 20, water trades totaled $1.8 billion, making water one of Australia's most valuable commodities. The environmental management is equally complex. The system maintains 30,000 wetlands and supports 46 native fish species, 120 waterbird species, and 16 million waterbirds during peak breeding seasons. But if you think managing water across a continent is impressive, wait until you see what happens when engineers decide to connect 5 major rivers into one system. Number 4. Suez Canal, Egypt, 193 kilometers. The Suez Canal, 193 kilometers of the most famous artificial waterway in human history. And here's what makes it truly remarkable. It has no locks. It's essentially a straight cut through 193 kilometers of desert, and water flows through it naturally. When Ferdinand de Lesseps proposed this canal in 1854, experts said it was impossible. The desert would fill it with sand. Ships would run aground. It would be an expensive failure. They were wrong, dead wrong. The construction statistics are absolutely mind-blowing. Workers removed 74 million cubic meters of sand and earth using primitive tools and human labor. At the project's peak, 25,000 workers were digging simultaneously. The original canal was 8 meters deep, 22 meters wide at the bottom, and 61 to 91 meters wide at the surface. The human cost was enormous. An estimated 120,000 Egyptian workers died during the 10-year construction period from disease, exhaustion, and accidents. Most were conscripted peasants working under brutal conditions for minimal pay. Today, after multiple expansions, the canal is 24 meters deep and 205 meters wide, capable of handling ships up to 20.1 meters draft and 50 meters beam. The largest container ships in the world, ultra-large container vessels carrying 24,000 a 20-foot equivalent unit, can now transit through this engineering marvel. The economic impact is staggering. Today, 12% of global trade passes through this canal. That's $1 trillion worth of goods every year. To put this in perspective, that's more than the entire GDP of most countries. The canal handles approximately 19,000 ship transits annually, generating over $6.3 billion in revenue for Egypt. When the Ever Given blocked this canal for 6 days in 2021, it cost the global economy $9.6 billion per day. Over 400 ships were backed up on both sides, carrying everything from oil and grain to consumer electronics. This single incident demonstrated just how critical this 193-kilometer waterway is to modern civilization. The transit statistics are remarkable. A typical passage takes 12 to 16 hours at a maximum speed of 16 kilometers per hour. Ships travel in convoys, northbound in the morning, southbound in the afternoon. The canal can accommodate vessels up to 400 meters long, which means the largest ships in the world can barely fit. Here's an engineering detail that showcases the canal's sophistication. The Great Bitter Lake, located at the canal's midpoint, serves as a passing area where northbound and southbound convoys can cross. This natural lake was incorporated into the canal design and expanded to 250 square kilometers to handle modern shipping traffic. The canal saves ships approximately 8,900 kilometers of travel around the Cape of Good Hope in Africa. For a container ship traveling from Asia to Europe, this represents 7 to 15 days of sailing time and fuel costs of $180, $300,000 to $700,000 per voyage. Countries have literally gone to war over this canal. In 1956, Britain, France and Israel invaded Egypt just to maintain control over these 193 kilometers of water. The Suez Crisis, as it became known, ended with international intervention, but it demonstrated the canal's geopolitical importance. The recent expansion project, completed in 2015, added a 35-kilometre parallel channel and widened existing sections at a cost of $8.2 billion. This allows two-way traffic in critical sections and reduces transit time by 2 to 3 hours. But if you think controlling 12% of global trade is powerful, the next 3 canals on our list didn't just change trade, they changed entire civilizations. Number 3, Indira Gandhi Canal, India, 837 kilometers. Number 3 is where we enter the realm of the truly impossible. The Indira Gandhi Canal in India, 837 kilometers of water flowing through one of the harshest deserts on Earth. Picture the Rajasthan desert. Temperatures reach 50 degrees Celsius in summer and drop to near freezing in winter. Annual rainfall averages just 150 millimeters, less than what London gets in 2 months. For thousands of years, this was considered uninhabitable wasteland. Then Indian engineers said, "What if we bring the Himalayas to the desert?" That's essentially what they did. They built an 837-kilometer canal system that carries water from the Himalayan rivers, specifically the Sutlej and Beas rivers, all the way to the Thar Desert. This isn't just a canal, it's a lifeline that transformed 1.9 million hectares of desert into productive farmland. The engineering statistics are mind-boggling. The main canal is 837 kilometers long with a discharge capacity of 524 cubic meters per second. The system includes 8,043 kilometers of distributary channels, creating a total network of 8,880 kilometers of artificial waterways. That's longer than the distance from New York to Buenos Aires. Here's the engineering challenge that'll blow your mind. Water has to flow uphill for parts of this journey. The canal begins at an elevation of 259 meters above sea level and ends at 175 meters. But the terrain includes hills and valleys that required building a system of pumps, lifts, and siphons. The Harike Barrage, where the canal begins, can divert 18.5 million cubic meters of water per day. This massive structure spans 1.5 kilometers across the Sutlej River and includes 44 gates, each 18.3 meters wide. The barrage creates a reservoir with a capacity of 1.59 billion cubic meters. Construction began in 1958 and took 30 years to complete in phases. The project cost $2.1 billion and required moving 500 million cubic meters of earth, equivalent to building 50 pyramids of Giza. At its peak, 40,000 workers were employed simultaneously across multiple construction sites. The human impact is extraordinary. Before this canal, the Rajasthan desert supported maybe 100,000 people living in extreme poverty, dependent on sporadic rainfall and scattered oases. Today, over 3.5 million people live in the canal's irrigation zone, and entire cities like Suratgarh and Hanumangarh exist because of this waterway. The agricultural transformation is equally impressive. The canal irrigates 1.9 million hectares, producing 4.8 million tons of food grains annually. That's enough to feed 24 million people. The region now produces wheat, cotton, mustard, and gram crops that generate $3.2 billion in annual agricultural revenue. The canal system includes 204 major distributaries and 1,454 minor distributaries, creating a network so complex that it requires 12,000 employees to operate and maintain. Water distribution is managed through 8,043 outlets, each serving specific farm areas with precise flow measurements. Here's a detail that showcases the project's ambition. The canal crosses 3,000 natural drainage channels, requiring the construction of 3,000 cross-drainage structures, including aqueducts, siphons, and culverts. The largest aqueduct spans 915 meters across the Gaga River. But if you think bringing water to a desert is impressive, number 2 on our list involves something even more audacious: bringing water from under a desert. Number 2, Great Man-Made River, Libya, 1,600 kilometers. The Great Man-Made River in Libya. This isn't just the second largest man-made river in the world. It's been called the 8th wonder of the world. And when you see what it actually is, you'll understand why. This isn't a surface canal. The entire thing is underground. 1,600 kilometers of massive pipes buried beneath the Sahara Desert, connected to over 1,300 wells that tap into fossil water aquifers that have been underground for 40,000 years. Let me put this scale in perspective. The pipes in this system are 4 meters in diameter, big enough to drive a car through. The total network covers 2,820 kilometers of underground infrastructure when you include all the distribution networks. It's like building a subway system under the world's largest desert, except instead of trains, it carries water. The engineering statistics are absolutely staggering. The system includes 1,300 water wells, each drilled to depths of 450 to 500 meters into the Nubian sandstone aquifer. These aren't ordinary wells. Each one can produce 150 to 250 cubic meters of water per hour. The total extraction capacity is 6.5 million cubic meters per day. Libya sits on top of one of the world's largest freshwater aquifers, an estimated 35,000 cubic kilometers of fossil water. That's enough fresh water to supply the entire world's population for 200 years. But it's buried 500 meters underground beneath one of the harshest deserts on Earth. The concrete pipes alone represent an engineering marvel. Each pipe section is 7.5 meters long and weighs 78 tons when empty. The project required manufacturing 500,000 pipe sections using specially designed factories built in the Libyan desert. The concrete mix includes special additives to withstand the extreme temperature variations and corrosive groundwater. Construction began in 1984 and took 25 years to complete at a cost of $25 billion, making it one of the most expensive infrastructure projects in history. The project employed 10,000 workers at its peak and required moving 200 million cubic meters of earth and rock. Here's where the logistics become mind-boggling. Transporting 500,000 massive concrete pipes across the Sahara Desert required building 3,500 kilometers of new roads and establishing 15 construction camps with full infrastructure including power generation, water treatment, and accommodation for workers. The pumping system includes 6,500 kilometers of underground pipelines connecting well fields to coastal cities. Water is pumped through 4 main pipeline systems. The eastern system serves Benghazi and surrounding areas. The western system supplies Tripoli. The central system feeds Sirte, and the southern system serves the Fezzan region. The project includes 270 pumping stations, each capable of maintaining water pressure across hundreds of kilometers of pipeline. The electrical power required to operate this system is enormous. Approximately 2,500 megawatts, equivalent to the output of 2 large nuclear power plants. This system delivers 6.5 million cubic meters of fresh water every day to Libya's coastal cities. Without it, Libya's population would be maybe 500,000 people clustered around a few oases. Instead, 6.8 million people live in cities that exist because of underground water flowing through the desert. The water quality is exceptional. Naturally filtered through sandstone for millennia, it requires minimal treatment before distribution. The system has transformed Libya from a water-scarce nation importing 70% of its food to a country with agricultural potential and urban centers supporting millions of people. But as impressive as pumping fossil water through 1,600 kilometers of desert pipes might be, nothing, and I mean nothing, compares to number 1 on our list. Number 1, Grand Canal, China, 1,794 kilometers. The Grand Canal of China, 1,794 kilometers of artificial waterway that is not just the longest man-made river in the world. It's the longest artificial waterway in human history, and its impact on civilization is beyond anything else humans have ever built. Here's what makes this absolutely mind-blowing. Construction on this canal began in 486 BC, that's 2,500 years ago. The Roman Empire didn't even exist yet. Confucius had died just 33 years earlier, and they're still expanding and modernizing it today. 1,794 kilometers. That's longer than the distance from New York to Denver. It's longer than the entire length of Great Britain. This canal connects Beijing in the north to Hangzhou in the south, linking 5 major river systems: the Han River, Yellow River, Huai River, Yangtze River, and Qiantang River. This wasn't built all at once. Different dynasties added sections over 1,400 years. The Sui dynasty, 581 to 618 AD, connected existing waterways and built new sections totaling 2,000 kilometers. The Yuan dynasty, 1271 to 1368 AD, rerouted sections to serve their capital at Beijing. The Ming dynasty, 1368 to 1644 AD, rebuilt entire portions and established the route that largely exists today. The engineering challenges were insane. The canal crosses different elevations, different climates, and different geological conditions across half of China. Chinese engineers invented the pound lock, the system of gates that allows boats to move between different water levels, specifically for this canal in 984 AD, 400 years before similar technology appeared in Europe. The lock system includes 60 major locks with chambers measuring up to 180 meters long and 23 meters wide. The most impressive engineering feat is the section crossing the Yellow River, where engineers built a massive aqueduct system that carries canal traffic over the river while allowing Yellow River water to flow underneath. The construction statistics are staggering. Workers moved an estimated 1.2 billion cubic meters of earth and stone over the centuries, equivalent to building 120 pyramids of Giza. At various points in history, up to 3.7 million workers were employed simultaneously on construction and maintenance. The human cost was enormous. Historical records suggest that over 2.5 million workers died during the Sui dynasty construction phase alone. Entire populations were conscripted for forced labor, and the project's demands contributed to the fall of multiple dynasties. But here's what makes this canal truly extraordinary. It didn't just connect cities, it unified China. Before the Grand Canal, northern and southern China were essentially different countries with different cultures, dialects, and economies. The canal allowed the movement of grain, goods, and people on a scale never seen before in human history. The economic impact was revolutionary. The canal enabled the transport of 4.4 million tons of grain annually from the fertile south to feed the political and military centers in the north. This grain transport system supported armies of 500,000 soldiers and urban populations exceeding 1 million people, unprecedented in the ancient world. During the Ming dynasty, the canal supported a fleet of 11,775 grain transport vessels, each capable of carrying 400 to 500 tons of cargo. The logistics required 121,500 sailors and 160,000 soldiers to protect the grain convoys. This was essentially a maritime highway system operating entirely on artificial waterways. The cultural impact was equally profound. The canal facilitated the exchange of ideas, technologies, and artistic traditions between northern and southern China. The standardization of Chinese writing, the spread of Buddhism, and the development of a unified Chinese identity all happened along this waterway. Today, this 1,794-kilometer waterway still carries 100 million tons of cargo annually. That's more freight than most countries' entire transportation systems. The modern canal includes 1,438 bridges, 24 locks, and 60 pumping stations. Container ships up to 2,000 tons can navigate the entire length. The recent modernization project, completed in 2014, cost $6.2 billion and upgraded 1,100 kilometers of the canal to handle modern shipping. New locks can accommodate vessels up to 2,000 tons, and the upgraded sections can handle ships 90 meters long and 13 meters wide. Here's the statistic that puts this canal in a category of its own. It has been continuously operational for over 1,400 years. No other human-built infrastructure has maintained continuous operation for even half that time. Parts of it are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, while other sections handle modern container traffic between China's industrial centers. The canal shaped Chinese civilization for over 2 millennia. The political unity of China, the economic development of Chinese cities, the cultural exchange between northern and southern China, even the location of China's capital cities, all of it happened because of this artificial river. So there you have it, the 10 largest man-made rivers in the world. From Greece's narrow cut through solid rock to China's 1,794-kilometer civilization builder, these waterways prove that when humans decide to move water, we don't just build canals, we reshape continents, create civilizations, and change the course of history itself. These engineering marvels represent humanity's greatest achievements in moving water where nature never intended it to flow. They've fed billions of people, connected continents, and proven that with enough determination and engineering skill, humans can literally redirect rivers and reshape the world. If this blew your mind, hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible engineering stories that changed our world. And let me know in the comments, which of these man-made rivers impressed you the most?